At the same time, the long airport lines are beginning to ease a little because Trump now has initiated an executive order to pay the TSA workers going around the Congress and the Senate, since the Senate will not pass the bill that the Congress did, and the Congress, being the House, said that they will pay DHS, but they can't have any money go to ICE. Senate said they won't do that, so now Trump is going around them with an executive order. Question that we have is, well, why didn't he do that in the first place? Why did he have people out there suffering, TSA workers, for 3 weeks, no pay? Some of them sleeping in their cars. Because some people survive paycheck to paycheck. So, and then we don't know if they're going to get the targeting, whether they're targeting the back pay that's owed them. The other issue that we see over the weekend is Hegseth, Secretary of...
Let's stop there, fam. That's Jesus Christ, fam. That makes sense to y'all. So we know the Democrats did not want to fund ICE. The only way they were going to approve to fund DHS if it doesn't include ICE. And instead of Rev Al Sharpton saying, hey, that's stupid. You need to fund DHS because you have all these workers like Coast Guard, TSA. There's others that are funded through Department of Homeland Security. When you're not paying DHS, you're not paying all these other folks, as they have to work anyway. Just because you're not paying Coast Guard doesn't mean they don't have to guard the coast. So let me get this right. Reverend Al is saying that Trump should have made an executive order earlier to pay those TSA workers or whoever's employed who's not getting paid through DHS. And he's blaming Trump for not doing that fast enough. But what he's not saying is, hey, why do Democrats do this dumb shit? They're the ones that held up the money that necessitated, that caused Trump to need to do an executive order. It don't make sense. Then Al Sharpton complains, he wants to remind America that there are people that live paycheck to paycheck. There are people that needed their check. There are people that work for a living who cannot afford not to have a paycheck. And you're putting that on Trump instead of putting that on the Democrats? It doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense if you're a hack. Yeah, it makes sense. You know, I find it kind of rich, a guy who has never missed a paycheck, Al Sharpton, would actually be talking about people that understand about paychecks. I know you don't have that problem, do you, Al? Because you always gonna find a way to put some money in your pocket. Whether it's interviewing Kamala Harris and getting $500,000 for having a conversation during her election. $500,000 for nothing. You enrolling. So you're not at all worried about people paycheck to paycheck. You good. You good with your paycheck. So let me get this right. If there's a company that's not paying its employees, and I know that government's not a company, but let's pretend it is. Let's frame it like a company. If the company's not paying the employees, right? Federal workers are employees of this company called the United States. And you know, it's closer to real than that, right? That's closer to reality than we would like to admit. That basically it's the United Corporations of America. But you don't want to fault the company for not paying the workers. Instead, you're blaming, who are you blaming? You're blaming Trump. So it's no kings, right? Let me get this right. No kings. This is the third year of no kings protests. where people are running around talking about we don't need no kings in America, we need a democracy. Got it. You're upset that Trump used executive powers. Everybody write this down. Sirs, write this down. Presidentialimpact.com. Presidentialimpact.com is my website where I give you a free book. It's an ebook. You can download it. It's about how presidents get things done without going through Congress. I wrote this book because I was tired of Democrats jumping in my timeline, being in my shows, DMing me, being an asshole, complaining about Joe Biden, saying I was wrong to criticize Joe Biden. Tim, Joe Biden couldn't do this. He couldn't do that because he didn't have Congress. So I wrote a book where I went through history and I looked at all the presidents who got things done without going through Congress. Whoop-de-doo, guess what? A lot of presidents got things done without going through Congress. Basically being kings. But see, Al Sharpton doesn't have a problem. He doesn't have a problem with, so anyway, go get that book, presidentialimpact.com. Free, download it, enjoy it. Al Sharpton does not have a real problem with Trump being a king as long as it's a king for shit he thinks Trump should be a king for. You know who also wrote a lot of executive orders? Obama. Obama got the same criticism that Trump gets about executive orders, by the way. They called him a king. They called him a tyrant. They called him a fascist. This is what Republicans were complaining about. I know you didn't hear it if you're a Democrat or if you're a liberal, because they didn't usually put that on your CNBC or MSNBC or CNN. But Republicans were complaining the same way Democrats are complaining about Trump right now. And if I know it, all of your cable news people know it, right? They know too. They were here. It's just a hypocrisy, fam. Yeah, I'm not saying Republicans are better. I've just told you. They complained about Obama when he was writing executive orders. And now Democrats are complaining that Trump is writing executive orders. But, he's not writing them fast enough. That's what's got me about Reverend Al. He said he's not complaining that Trump wrote an executive order. Now he's blaming him for not doing it sooner. But he's not calling out his party that made it a reason for him to write it. If they would have funded DHS, he would not have had to write an executive order to begin with. But see, Reverend Al, he's such a suck-up. He's such an operative for the Democratic Party. He'll tell you he's working for black people. Reverend Al is working for himself and his friends at the Democratic Party. Now, that's my opinion. I'm a commentator. I can give you my opinion. But it's based on, as close to facts as I could get without it actually being a fact. This is what I know. Reverend Al's show, Politics Nation, is garbage. It stinks. Some shows stink where you need to put in a air freshener, plug in a freshener in an outlet, maybe light a diffuser. Nah, you need an air cleaner. That's how bad this shit is. You need an air cleaner, an industrial strength air cleaner. That's how bad Al's show stinks. He's a horrible interviewer. He's a pathetic talker, all these things. He's bad, all right? But it's worse than that. Reverend Al show, Politics Nation. You'd be better off just blowing a hole in the wall. Knock down a wall. Do the show outside. If you're going to watch Politics Nation, the show stinks so bad, you need to watch it on your phone outside where you can get some fresh air, because it stinks that bad. It's a horrible show. But the fact that it hasn't been canceled, the fact that somehow it survived, that tells you everything you need to know about Reverend Al. That tells you everything you need to know about the liberal media. They'll keep that piece of fam. Listen, I am not, I've been critical of Joy Reid. I would never tell you Joy Reid is that effective. I would never say Joy Reid is an ineffective commentator. She's effective. Doesn't mean good. And most of the time, what she's advocating for is self-serving to the Democrats. It's team ball. It's that black ball. It's that working class people ball. It's team Democrat ball. And I don't like team. We're not here for teams. But anybody with any sense knows that Joy Reid was a much more effective, highly rated commentator, anchor compared to Reverend Al. Reverend Al still got a show and Joy Reid is gone. This is something Joy should talk about. See, these are hacks. How could you get canceled? And not mention Reverend Al isn't canceled. How could you not bring that up? You gonna go crying on the internet, hanging out with D.L. Hughley, hanging out with Don Lemon, have all this to say on your selfies, phone, your show, crying in your Fruit Loops. No smoke at all for MSNL. No smoke for the network that fired your ass like a 357, sideways. But they kept Reverend Al? I rest my case. These Democrats, man, even when they get fired, even when they get humiliated on the world stage, they gonna keep shilling. Shill or die trying. On Blueberry Shield, it's the Shill Street Blues. To Shill a Mockingbird. Catch a Schiller. Schiller's List. Schiller's List. I'm trying to tell you, fam, it's a lot of shilling. Milk is chilling. Bib is chilling. What more can I say? Top shilling. That's what we get. We got it good. And since it's understood. All right, let's keep it going, y'all. Let me know what y'all think about this segment, man. Reverend Al is the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you, Reverend Al, for putting out a segment that gives me an opportunity to circle back and remind people just how bad you are. Happy Easter.
Catch Tim Black live on the most dangerous show in America, Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. Don't miss out on the real. Stay dangerous.